Hello and welcome to this month's IAMPRO Q&A. You can see that I have the lovely Dave Beton with me today, who is a director. He has done films like Tower Block, I Am Soldier, The Hatton Garden Job, Confession, and I know him because first and foremost he's a friend, but also because he directed EastEnders and our famous Christmas Day episodes, which were brilliant. Alongside that, he's a writer and he's got loads of stuff in development. So I am really looking forward to this chat. Welcome, Dave.
How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, good, thank you. First of all, I just want to start with how you got into the industry because it is not a normal story, and I think it's a fascinating one.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, I'll try not to go back too far, but I guess I have to put it in context of how I got into the industry.
Just put it
Um,
in for us,
I
yeah.
guess, yeah, yeah. So basically, I'm somebody back in the day when I was at school. I used to play a lot of rugby, do all of those kind of physical things, and I was always in the drama studio. They were the two kind of things that I was into. I was into writing, and I used to write a lot of short stories and then short films and plays and stuff like that. And I guess at the time, when you talk about peer pressure and stuff, people have a stereotypical idea of what somebody who writes plays and writes or directs is and where they're from. Now, I'm a working class guy. I'm the son of a Yugoslavian immigrant and a butcher from the East End. It wasn't in my family heritage to go into this line of work or anything like that, but it was just something that I was fascinated by. But I guess my friends at the time and my peer groups I hung around with as a kid weren't so much into it as me. So they would always say, "What, why are you messing around doing that rubbish? Come and play rugby, come and do this or whatever." So I kind of sadly fell away from doing it about 16, 17. I ended up joining the army, just doing all these physical endeavours that I was really into and stuff. And then I was in the prison service, and I was always still into reading really good novels and books, and I guess film is really where my heart's at, film and television. So I was always an avid watcher of different things, and I always liked it, but I'd always look at it from an analytical standpoint as well as a fan. How was this constructed? How was this made? All of that kind of stuff. So I was always my brain was always stimulated in that respect from from TV and film and storytelling, but I wasn't participating. But what happened was is that whilst I was a prison officer, I went through a set of really um, tricky circumstances that I navigated, and it opened my eyes a lot to the world in many ways. I was a kid when I joined the prison service. I was 20 years old. By the time I was 27, I felt like I was 47 really with the things that I'd experienced. So for the first time in a long time, I felt compelled to write about something. I felt compelled to sit at the screen, and without boring you, what I wrote down became a book. And then I managed to get a book deal, which I knew very little about. I knew nothing about agents, anything like that. But I managed to get a book deal with a company called Headline, which are part of Hatchet. They publish people like Martina Cole, big authors anyway. So my book um, was a bestseller, it was a top 10 bestseller, and it was always TV and film that I wanted to get into. But I was this guy that didn't go to college, dropped out of college, didn't go to university, but I had a way with words. So I had an agent at the time that was then sending my book out to various different production companies, some really big ones as well, and studios, and there was offers on the table to take the rights to my book and turn it into a film. Um, I was all excited by that, but I wanted myself to come with the property. I wanted to write the script. So everybody said no because you'd never written a screenplay before, and I said, well, I hadn't written a book before, and it done rather well. Um, so I turned these companies down, um, and
Wow.
my wife, she was incredibly angry because we was offered some a decent chunk of change for it, but I was like, no, this is my property, and this is my key into the industry. So I decided to go another route, and I linked up with a young, really hungry filmmaker he was a wonderful young lad. He was a fan of my stuff. He's called Louis Arnold, and he's now one of the country's biggest directors. And he'd read my book and he tracked me down. So we've done a short film together. I wrote and he directed, and then I used that it was funded by the UK Film Council, um, which is now defunct, but it's kind of swallowed up by the BFI actually. Um, so I used that as a springboard to then raise finance to make my first feature film, which is based on my book, which I wrote and I produced, and I sold it to a studio called Lionsgate. And then from then on, I could waffle on for a long, long time on this. But then I went on to, I think I've made eight movies, four of which I've directed, seven of which I've written. I've directed, I don't know, probably 30 hours of TV. I've got a couple of my own shows in development with different studios. Um, and yeah, I've just grafted, worked hard,
My God,
you know?
that self-belief to go, you can have this, but you take me with it. It was so brave.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, brave or stupid. I mean,
You better be
you
of
know,
both.
bit of both, but it was like Sylvester Stallone, you know, he
Yeah.
was offered a massive money for his script Rocky, and he said, I wanted to be a lead in it. And they were like, well, we don't know who you are. How can we market this with you? And he goes, no, I want to be the lead. I'm the only person to do it. So, yeah, he took a fraction of the money to be a lead in it, took a massive risk where the film could have flopped. He would have, you know, he would have been financially for the day of the money he got offered. He'd have been financially secure. He turned it down, rolled the dice, and it paid off. And please don't think I've done anywhere near what Sylvester Stallone has done, but it's that kind of model. And I think in this business, whether you know you're a writer, director, actor, you're rolling the dice at every stage. And I think you have to listen to your gut and see what's happening within the market, and just, you know, also be pragmatic if you've got it wrong. You know, there's
Mm,
nothing wrong with getting things wrong, but you've got to try and this whole business is run on instinct and determination, I think, you know.
mm. But it's I mean it's so brave. But you must have really trusted yourself as well as a director, bearing in mind you wanted to take that on and you'd never directed anything. What
Yeah,
gave
I
you that
mean,
to do that?
we'll go with that. Yeah, okay, that's an interesting one. Well, the first the first movie I knew that I wouldn't be able to direct, because I also knew that, you know, you do get first time directors, but the movie that I wanted to make based on my first book, it was an independent film, but it wasn't a tiny budget film. It wasn't a bigger budget film. It was like mid range for the time that we made it. So the finances would have been more comfortable with a director that had had more experience than me at that time. So I was happy again for the long game to go. That's fine. I will write this one and not direct it. And actually, another conversation to be had is I still write for other directors as well. You know, I can do that at times, which is fine. But anyway, I knew that once I'd made my first film, which I'd produced and written, I was pretty, I think, naively confident that I could then cultivate an opportunity to direct.
Mm.
That was always my goal, to direct, and it was my way in. But I'm lucky because I write. Because there are very good directors that don't write, but I could always write my way in. So I wrote my way in and used that, you know, to cultivate an opportunity. And yeah, it was, there is an element of self belief, and sometimes I look back on it, it was naive self belief, you know, because it's like I don't know if you watched the darts last night, but there's this
I did.
Charlton say you sit. No, I'm sure you
16.
didn't. But but there you go. Some people who are watching this would have watched the darts, and he's a 16-year-old kid. He's gone in and he's made the final because he had no mental constraints.
Yeah.
You're kind of free,
Move.
because I think you don't you think, I want that, I want to go for that. Why wouldn't I? And that was kind of
Mm.
my attitude. And actually, you know me, Charlie, I still my attitude in many ways now. Still, it's still the way I try. Obviously, I'm a bit wiser, so I try and approach things in a more sophisticated way. I guess, is that the right way of
And
terming it?
strategic as
But
well.
strategic. Yeah, you have to be strategic. Where before I was a bit more like a bull in a china shop, and that is my default place. But I try, rather than be a bull in a china shop, I try to purchase a nice piece of china. Do you know what I mean? When I'm in there, you know what I mean, rather than break everything. So,
Did you have did you have
you
any
know,
practices that you did, like writing constantly or journaling, or like what did you do to cultivate that in yourself?
what
Exercise, what were like what
the
were the things?
well, I was mentored by some really really good people. The late Colin Butts, um, who you knew as well. He was an author and screenwriter. Come from South London, very very working class. Had rejection after rejection for his book that he wrote. So he self-published it, sold a load of books, and then got picked up and went on to be a bestseller. Had his own TV show of Sky, etc., etc. So there was him, and there's also a BAFTA award-winning screenwriter called Jeff Thompson, um, and these guys would I guess they would give me notes and scripts, educate me on what to read, what to watch. I would write with them and things like that. So I made sure that I um, I surrounded myself with like-minded people, people that I
Yeah.
could relate to, people that I trusted, you know. So they would help me with the storytelling side. Now, from a directing point of view, I'm just somebody that when I was at school and stuff, I'd pick up a camera, I'd go and make short films, and then roughly cut them together. And I'm not the most technically minded guy, you know. I'm good at as director, like shot selection, and I have an editorial brain, but actually using the software is not really my forte. But I would go out and make stuff. And the thing is, this was a time where you know you'd use a Super 16 or a VHS video camcorder or something like that. You know, nowadays you've got editing software on your iPhone or on your Android phone. You know, you've got there's movies shot on these. You know, the equipment now is phenomenal. So for me, it was about practicing that, right, and actually doing it. And I used to watch a lot of behind the scenes
Mm.
films, like studio movies. I'd watch hours and hours of it, weeks of it, even, you know. And then when I was around the business, and I had my first thing done. I would watch the director, watch what they did, watch how they operated. And as you will know, I've directed you, Charlie, and you've been directed by many directors, and we're all different in our approach. There's some
So different.
similarities, yeah, but so different. You know, we bring our own way of doing it. You know, there's some, yeah, there's some that are so overtly methodical with their planning that if they deviate from that, they struggle. And there's some that have which I think I am. I have a loose plan, and then I can work with the actors to find what I want. Obviously, like if I've got something like a specific stunt or a car chase again, which I've done with you, then it'll be much more strategically
Yeah.
planned.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I would watch, and then of course after my first film, I pitched another movie to Lionsgate which I wanted to direct, and they said yes, and I absolutely shit myself because that was my directorial debut. So then it's like, well, I've now going to have to wing this. I've not done a feature before, and I had the likes of Sheridan Smith, Jack O'Connell, Ralph Brown. You know, I had a cast of serious actors. You know,
Yeah.
and what actors need, whether they admit it or not, actors need a director that instills confidence in what they're doing. You know,
Yeah.
even if
Gotta be able
a
to trust them.
director is having, yeah, exactly, you've got to trust them. Even if a director is having a crisis during filming, which I'll let you into a little secret, we have many crises during filming. We have to navigate a way of dealing with that crisis whilst keeping our talent comfortable, focused, and happy, and ready to perform when I need them to perform.
Yeah.
So it's a real skill set, and it's like
Mm.
you find you find your own way as a director, And I think in many ways you find your own way as an actor. Like you will have a, you know, you will do. You'll have. There's only so much you can learn in a classroom for things. You find your own method, you know, and actually, I have skills that I utilize as a director, but I will channel different skills depending upon what the project is, what it requires from me to get what I need to get, and also it's a continually it's a learning experience. You know, every time I shoot something, I learn something else, and I think the minute you stop learning within the arts is probably the minute you should probably stop, because I think
Yeah.
it is an ever growing, ever evolving thing, you know. And and again, as you will know from an actor's point of view, every job you do brings a different set of experiences, doesn't it? You
Mm.
know, you can understand the formula of, yeah, you have your call sheet, your rehearsal, whatever it may be, but everything's slightly different, isn't it? And that's
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
it's a big,
Every job you learn something new, and that's
yeah, totally.
what I love, because I'm like, oh, that's something new today, and I come back on IAMPRO and just share all the experiences. Um,
That's it, and that's what it's about, you know.
yeah. Just going to the director, the actor, the on-set relationship of those two roles. Um,
Mm.
you said that you tend to, unless it's a big car chase or something like that, which has to be more planned, you're quite loose with it, which I find much more collaborative as an actress,
Yeah,
because you
absolutely.
have a little bit more freedom. You don't have to hit that exact mark at that. There's more room for play. There's more room for an actor to explore. And what I'd like to talk to you today about is that relationship, and specifically for people who are new to this, who are coming in and doing one episode, or they've just got 3 lines on a set. So we've got a lot of people just starting out on this platform. Um, and how to manage the relationship with the director if they feel how much input they might have on a day like that. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really, you know, I always have the utmost respect for, you know, an actor that's coming in for a day, a scene, or whatever it may be, because it is it's tricky for them, and it can be tricky for the director, because you have, if you know, you'll have your, let's say, you know, we're on a continuing drama, a soap or something. You'll have your block that you're directing, and in your block, a soap by default doesn't have a lead actor, but your block will have a lead certain amount of cast, right? So you'll be, you have your A storyline or whatever. So during that block, the director will cultivate a strong relationship with the lead actors in that block, because they're the biggest storylines, and you're constantly working together to create the right mood, story, tone, etc., etc. So the focus is so much on that. So when you get actors that are coming in for smaller roles, it can be intimidating for that actor, because they might feel like that they're walking into a family that's already established. They're there to kind of join in, you know, and it can be like that. And likewise for a director, they have to make sure that they give the attention and the care to the smaller roles, as they do the bigger cast. It doesn't always happen, time constraints, etc., etc. So the relationship, to build a good relationship with the actors, and you know, big bigger roles or smaller roles, it's all about preparation. So if you're coming in, if an actor's coming in, which actually I've got to say, you know, without naming any names, 9 times out of 10, your day players are coming way more prepped, way more on it than some of the more established actors, because it's their moment,
Yeah.
and it's great, and I love that. And actually, weirdly enough, it allows me to allow them to take care of business. Once I've, you know, by that stage, I would have either have met them. I certainly would have seen them act, because I would have been the person to cast them 9 times out of 10. So there's a level of faith and belief in them before they walk through the door. They've got the part. So there's also, my advice would be is to be well prepped on what you're doing, um, and understand, you know, what the character is, who the character is, and then when you meet the director and work with the director, don't be scared to ask any
Yes.
questions you're unsure about. You know,
That's
ask the question.
yeah.
You
Sorry.
know, because not all directors will be forthcoming with what they want from a performance. They'll expect you to know. But then, of course, as an actor, you might go, well, I could play it this or this, and you're not sure which one.
Yeah.
Ask, and then you start talking about it. Then that's when you collaborate. Well, I think that'd be a bit like this, and director go, yeah, okay, we'll try that. But what about this? Then you start building a relationship. So just be well researched. Even if it's a tiny role, just be well read on what your character's supposed to be doing. Do you know what I mean? And that's the best thing. That's the best way to be, because if you are, and you come up with an interesting interpretation of the character you're playing, and you have an interesting idea, the director will look up and go, "Oh, that's great." I certainly do. I'm talking from my perspective, you know, and it is, from my perspective, a collaboration. You know, sometimes actors will get it wrong, and they will make a suggestion that isn't right, but that's the director's job to tell them it's not right. Okay, but it is a collaboration, and likewise, I expect and hope that actors that I direct, they will give me a better version of what I thought I was going to get. Likewise, with my director of photography, I have a very, I'm good with my shots, and I have a distinctive way of how I want to shoot something, but I'm not a director of photography. So I like to empower the people around me to give me their ideas and expertise to create the best thing that we want to create. I'm very collaborative in that way. And it's the same, with, with actors. It's no different. It should be a collaboration. And that's why when I direct, you know, particularly, good, solid drama, I want to collaborate with the actors to not, you know, we are constrained by the environment that we're filming in, but I'm not a director, as you know, that will go, right, I want you in that corner, I want you to hold the cup, and I want you to do this, and I want you to, I'll go, I want it around, and I want that, that, and that. This is where they are, this is what we're doing, let's have a rehearsal. That's kind of how I like to do it. I want you actors to act. You know, that's where I come from as director.
Yeah. So the practicalities of that, let's just get into the nitty-gritty of it for 1 second, are if someone's coming in to do, let's say, a 4-part drama, 6-part drama, there's a read-through always. So
Yeah,
in that
yeah,
read-through room, if one of these actors that just had maybe a scene or a slightly smaller part just came up to you and said, look, I've been thinking about doing this with you, I'll try it in the read-through. Or would you say to wait until you got on set to experiment a little bit more with it and just go, look, I've had some thoughts about this. Oh, since we've done the read through, when shall I just give this a go on camera and tell me what you think? Is that sort of practically how would that be received by you?
so it's a good question. There's no right or wrong. It's about when you have the idea. If you've got an idea before you go to the read through, tell them your idea. If
Mm,
that idea is there before the read through, then mention it. Mention it before you sit down. Say, look, I know we can do a read through. I've got this. What do you
yeah.
think? The director will either go, yeah, have a crack, no problem. We'll go, stick to what we've got in a minute. We'll talk about it, have a think about it after. Say it
Okay.
whenever. Likewise, when you've done the read through, of course you're going to come up with other ideas. I'm sure you will, between then and when you're on set. Likewise, so does the director. How many times have we been doing a scene, Charlie, where we're doing a scene and we've been doing it, like, and that's not working. Not your performance, but what's written, and that needs to fall away. We need to adapt it a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you
One
know?
scene in
Do you
particular.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's the same. It's about being collaborative, and understanding and being responsive, and it's give or take. And likewise, the tricky thing for an actor as well is that if it gets to a point where actually the director wants it to be a particular way, you know, it's not a dictatorship, but you might have to suck it up sometimes and do it a particular way that you might think it's not the best version of it, but if the director does, you need to kind of put the faith and trust in the director.
I was
But
going to say
it's been
the trust.
very, yeah, it's the trust thing. But I don't really think, I'm trying to rack my brains if I've ever got to a stage where I've been with an actor where there's been that final disagreement. Don't think I
Yeah.
ever have. I think it's always found its way because
But
there
you make
are some actors that just
before you get in. You make the agreement on
sorry.
what it is. You make the agreement on what it is and what you want it to be ahead of the shoot, right? So you're both very clear on thoughts and intentions.
Absolutely, if you've got that time, but sometimes you don't even have that time, do you?
Yeah.
Right? And you do. So if you've got that time, then yes, right? But like anything, as you know, when you get out there and start blocking the things you've both agreed on, you might both go, that's shit. We've got it wrong. Let's try it like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because when you start rehearsing and you bring in other talent and you start having a rapport within that scene with another actor, and that's I love that. Me as director, I love that when I'm rehearsing, watching, and I see something that I hadn't even thought of. I go, bang! Look at that! Look what's revealed itself
Mm.
through interaction and performance. I love that. I love directing that. I love directing that drama. I love it. I think it's amazing, and you know, I keep harping on about the stuff we've done together, but on that Boxing Day episode, that three-hander in the Vic, which was just pure performance, wasn't it? I
Yeah.
love directing. I love, the car chase stuff's fine, but I love directing that stuff more because
Yeah.
it's we were we were going. We had the script. We were going through it, and then you ladies were finding stuff within
Yeah.
each other that weren't in the script, and it weren't. It was just coming out, and that for me is the best. And in an ideal world, you can do that before the shoot with loads of rehearsal time. You don't always have the luxury of that, so it happens on the day. But that's
Mm.
fine, It's collaborative. It should always be collaborative, in my opinion. That's how I work.
I love that the other way around as well, where you have quite a. I mean, I've never got a completely set idea on what something's going to be. I don't think there's always, I try to be instinctive, I suppose, on the day, and you feed off of whoever you're working with. But likewise, when a
Yeah,
director comes and might just whisper one thing in your ear, or just go, "Did it? Have you seen that? Or did you think about that for this?" You go, "Oh my fucking God." No,
yeah,
I didn't. And it
yeah,
just changes the whole thing and suddenly it elevates and feels richer. And, so it's just
mm,
about being open. I think the other thing to say about people that just come on for sort of days or 2 days or maybe a week, or they get really, some, not all, nervous about
yeah,
feeling they have a right to say how they feel, or if they're not happy with something, or and I think that's quite tricky, isn't it, especially when you come into a full-on working production. um
yeah.
so we
It is, and I always have. I try and be very respectful to that
Yeah.
because you can see it. You can see it when you've got a couple of actors that are in for the day, and you can sometimes see that I can tell they're not happy with something, but they're like, I don't say anything because
Yes.
you've got all these big actors that have been there forever and they're kind of marching around like, yeah, this is my gig, I know what I'm doing. So it can be intimidating. And those other actors are not doing that. Most of them are not doing it on purpose. You know what I mean? It's
And
like,
they know what they're doing, by the way, probably. They're
what's
winging
that?
it too. They're probably
Yeah,
winging it too.
exactly.
So you think have got it all sorted and all figured out, and probably going, got all their own insecurities and stuff going on.
Absolutely. There's what one of the biggest kind of um, I guess rumors or secrets that is around certainly around with directors, is Robert De Niro. Apparently, he's one of the greatest actors of all time. A lot of it happens in the edit because he's always off kilter, not always as well prepped as you think. He finds it. That's how he acts. But you'd think watching him, he's on the money with every line, and he's not. You know what I mean? So again, that's the rumor. But yeah. So for somebody who's coming in, yeah, don't be scared to have a voice. Absolutely. But likewise, I've also seen people that have come on who are a smaller role, and through the excitement of being a part of something, they then start to think the opposite. Oh, I'm now on this and I can be like this. Just conduct yourself well. Be kind, be polite, be humble. And I say that to big fucking actors as well that have egos. Remember, it's cold outside, right?
Mm,
Be humble, be thankful for what you're doing.
yeah.
We're some of the lucky few tiny percent in the world that get to earn a living out of doing something artistic. And we're very, very. I'm always grateful for what I do. You know,
Yeah.
always. Obviously, before we started hit record, I moaned about the industry, but I'm grateful for what I do. It's like,
Do that. You
but
have to say it out loud to move through it, Dave.
yeah, and don't I know how to say it out loud. That's half the problem, I think. Yeah, so
Um,
that's it. So it's just, yeah.
is there something you love? I mean, can you believe it's 31 minutes already? Is there something you love seeing in an actor? Like whether they take risks or are bold? Like, is there one or two qualities that you think, oh, they've got that? And what is that for you?
It's really hard to pin down, really, because again, like we were talking about, how directors um have a different. Everyone has a different style. Actors can have a different prep or a different way of trying to do the interpretation of the character. You get some that are quite method or really method that want to stay in character. I've always found that a little bit bizarre, um, but it works for some. It does. It
Yeah.
work. Works for some. So quality for me really is for the actor is understanding the story, not just their part. And I know it's hard because you read a lot of scripts, but you need to understand the story, understand the character, where that character slots in. So I love an actor to be up to speed on what it is that their character is doing. Doesn't mean they have to forensically know the entire script or everything, but understand it. Read the outline of what it is. Just be well prepped. And yeah, I do like actors who take risks. I do. I really do. When an actor does something that I didn't see coming, I'm like, fucking all right, like that, or not. But they've had a
Yeah.
go. They've had a
Mm.
go. They've had a go. Likewise, that doesn't mean you have to purposefully do that either. If you've got 4 lines in a show, there's only so much you can do with 4 lines in a show, in an episode. But I do. It's just preparation and understanding the character really, and then yeah, and take a risk if you want to take a risk because look, I've had it before where I've spoken to an actor and they've suggested something. I was like, I'm not sure about that. They've gone okay, so I thought, okay, we'll keep it how it is. And by the way, I'm not saying defy every director here, but they've gone on and done it, and I've said not, and I've gone, yeah, that was fucking really good. Actually, we'll have that. Do you know what I mean? So, and I'm not saying don't go and defy every director because you piss them off, but you know the risk can be there, and likewise, sometimes you know don't always chat everything through forensically. In the rehearsal, do it. If you got an idea, do it.
Yeah.
Because
I think
if the director don't like it, they'll tell you.
Yeah, they will. And I think it's a really nice
Yeah,
way to just kind of say, do you mind if I just have a go at something? Maybe if you haven't been brave enough, you've done 4 takes the way the director wants it. But if at the end of that you go, if we've got time for one more, can I just have a go at something I had in my mind? and that may or may not
Yeah,
work, but at
definitely.
least you've got some in the bank before, and they're not going time shit. We shouldn't have done that because, do you know what I mean?
No, that's always good as well. And likewise, if I've got, because sometimes as a director as well, you have a vision, but there will be two ways that you'd like. And a lot of times, because of time, you have to pick one straight away. If I've got time, I will do it slightly different. So I can sit in
Yeah.
the edit and go, what one do I prefer?
Mm.
Obviously, then doesn't mean you're indecisive, because as a director, you got to be decisive. But there
Mm.
could be just a slight variation, where you want one with a bit more volume and you want one more subtextual and down,
Yeah.
you know? And you might pick the more subtextual one, but then you don't want to be in the edit and think, oh, I wish I had one with a bit more, gravitas to it, a bit more welly. So if you got, there's always, because having gone through it a lot of times as director and being an experienced director, you know, so often you sit in the edit and go, I wish I had that. I wish I'd have got this. Not as often as it used to be, because I've got pretty decent at managing to get two variations, or whatever it may be. So yeah,
Mm.
don't ever be scared to offer the director something else, because only an idiot would say no to that offer, because you're you're giving that director, even if it ends up on the cutting room floor, you're giving him or her an opportunity to have a variation of what they've done.
So when it comes to
You
self-tapes,
know,
would you like to see two variations of the same scene from the actor?
that's a really good question. Yes, if they've got two variations that they think are good.
Mm.
No, if they're just doing two variations for the sake of two variations. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
Yep.
So don't just go, I have to do two variations, but there's absolutely, because there might not be call for it, but you know, if if you think that there are, and there's two sustainable variations that you as an actor think is good, then show both. But if you think one version supersedes the other version, and the second version, you're just doing it for the sake of it, don't bother. Do you know what I mean? 'Cause there's no science to this. There's no rule book. But I have had audition tapes where there are two variations, and I go, "Wow, that's interesting." It
Yeah.
does make me look up. It does, because you're showing, you can interpret a character with variation that you can bring. You're showing your chops as an actor as well.
Mm.
You
Mm.
know, so I would absolutely suggest do it if you feel it's right for that particular part you're auditioning for. Yeah,
I think it would be right, and we'll just finish on this. I think it would be right, and I'm still, as you said at the beginning, I'm really learning as I go. If you've seen the whole script, if you haven't seen the whole script and they've just given you loose scenes, and so you don't know the
yeah,
context or what a director might necessarily be looking for, or you don't have that much information to build the something and be decisive in your own choice of your variation of this character, I think then is probably a good time to offer a couple of variations, if of course you have them and they're good enough. I think if you've seen the whole script and you understand the meat of the story, and where I think it's really good to have a clear idea and direction of what you would
yeah,
contribute to it as an actor, and have a sure idea of what you want that to be, and offering that
yeah.
to the director. Because I think a
Absolutely, no,
director,
absolutely.
if you like to see that in an actor, this is how I think it is, and the confidence that they have, and the what they have to say about that character.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, because that is part of it, isn't it? Isn't it? When you do an audition, you get your scenes and that's it. You
Mm.
might get a small blurb about what it is, or you might not. So then it is hard. So then, yeah, you're right. Do a couple of different alternative takes. There's nothing wrong with doing that anyway. There just isn't. Because likewise, you could have. I'm just pulling this out of thin air here, but you could have a scene where it's like you're getting some tragic news. Something's happened. Someone's died or whatever it may be. one interpretation is full on tears, you break down. Another interpretation of that is withdrawal, shock, you know, and there's another
Yeah.
version where it's a combination of both. So that that kind of direction can be interpreted so many ways, you know.
Yeah.
So particularly with that, as much as taxing as auditioning for that part would be in doing variations, I would definitely do variations,
Mm.
you know, because it's kind of it's a loose direction, isn't it? Really, you know,
Yeah.
and it's like, but then sometimes I've had scripts which I haven't written where it said this person, you know, this character really cries. Then when I've done it with the actor, we've thought, no, we don't want the tears. You can sell this without the tears. You can sell it with a look. You can sell it. The biggest thing that I can give as a pointer broadly for actors, full stop, right, is
Give it to us.
subtext.
Mm.
Subtext. Always, it's not the best actors in the world for me. It's not what they say, it's what they fucking don't say. It's in the eyes, it's in the movement, it's in the understanding. That is acting. Of course, delivering dialogue is acting, but subtext is the thing I think when I watch, and directors are guilty of it. Everyone's guilty. It's the bit that is overlooked the most, where if you get the subtext right, you engage immediately, you know? So it's
Yeah.
about really, really working on what's not being said. That's the believability of a performance, you know?
I love that. And that is a really good way to
Yeah,
bring our chat to an end. Dave, I think your story is inspiring, amazing. I can't wait to see what you do next. That's very exciting. And
thank
I
you.
can't wait till we work together again soon.
We will do. We've got, yeah, we've got one or two things in the pipeline ourselves, haven't we? So we will be working together soon, no doubt.
One day soon, my darling. Thank you so much for your time today. And thank you for coming on to share your juicy knowledge with us at I Am Pro. See you
Welcome.
soon.
Speak soon. Ta-ra.
Bye.